Namaste Aotearoa and welcome to the Export Beer Garden Studio. Welcome to the headquarters of the cult that is the Alternative Commentary Collective, and welcome to New Zealand's oldest, perhaps, cricket podcast, the BYC. I'm Paul Ford, co-founder of the Beige Brigade, coming to you live, unfortunately not from Ahmedabad, but from Wellington. And I'm joined by Taranaki's finest, journalist extraordinaire, full-time vegetarian, Dylan Cleaver. Namaste, Dylan. How good would it be to be in Ahmedabad at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow night?
Yeah, it sure would be, watching, and I guess that temple that they've built for the Ahmedabad's favourite son, Narendra Modi. 120-odd thousand people can squeeze into there. I also noticed that they've managed to co-opt the big games during this World Cup. They've got Pakistan, India, they've got the World Cup opener, they've got the final. It is a very dry city in every sense of the word, actually, so that could cause some issues for travelling fans, but no, it will be amazing and I can't wait for it. And just a quick apology from the man who normally sits on my right, Jason Hoyt, cannot be with us today. He is in Sydney, I believe. Got an SOS from an old friend, Stuart McGill, who's going through a bit of a tough time. So he is over there.
Over there as a heavy, do you think, or is providing some sort of bush
solace.
Lawyer advice?
Probably just providing solace, a shoulder to cry on, which is...
Voice of experience. I mean, Jason's done a lot of time over the years as well, of course. So, yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of experiences to share. On Ahmedabad, I did actually see, Dylan, that the local cricket association has given away 40,000 tickets specifically to women, because I think they're aware it's quite a male-dominated audience. So not only have it's through a WhatsApp invitation, so you get your ticket digitally, and they've also been given, alongside that ticket, they get 2 tokens for tea, 1 for snacks, and 1 for food packets. And they're trying to get the women there specifically, not actually to watch the cricket, but to get there for the opening ceremony, which will be happening before the England versus New Zealand game. So there may be a few more saris, would that be correct? And a few less sort of casual collared dress shirts, which is what the Indian fans do tend to wear along with their sort of flannel pants. No
one rocks a polo shirt quite like an Indian cricket fan.
That's right. God, there's going to be some wonderful hand-vivided banners as well. They're huge fans of the homemade banner. The Indian fans can't wait. It's going to be a big, I think, what is it, 7 weeks, something insane like that.
Yeah, it's really long. I don't think the final's till November 18th or 19th, somewhere around there. So it's going to be a long haul, but a good haul. Exactly.
And we're going to be here for it, actually. We're not doing every single day, but I think the plan is that we're going to be running a number of little micro specials after some of the big games, or lots of the big games, and keeping all you BYC fans up to date over the next few weeks with our massively biased New Zealand perspective on the Cricket World Cup. Without any further ado, Dylan, you sent through a wee list of stuff that we needed to think about in advance of this, and a few predictions and so on around the tournament.
Yep.
Top of that list, who do you think is going to be the top run scorer?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go quite sensible here, and I've shortlisted it to 4. I think it'll be out of Steve Smith, Shubman Gill, Babar Azam, or KL Rahul. And the reason I've got KL Rahul in there is he's quite a selfish player, and I can just imagine him settling in against some of the weaker oppositions and making sure he fills his boots. But in the end, I've decided to go for the Pakistani with the world's most gorgeous cover drive, Babar Azam.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, he's certainly the jewel in their batting crown. I think they call him the diamond. That's what they call him, Babar Azam, the diamond. I had a couple of other names on my list, but very similar. I'd Rohit Sharma in there, Devon Conway, Johnny Bairstow, the Rat, Kohli. I had Babar Azam on there, and I went with Shubman Gill, also very sensible. Averages 68 in India and averages 66 overall. Strike rate of 112, and I just cannot get that frightening 208 that he scored against us out of my head. So, I think it's going to be Shubman Gill. I'll be going to the TAB with a little bit of money on that one.
And if he is a top run scorer, I mean, what a joy to watch he is. He's just fantastic. And some of those shots that he can engineer the ball, just really good length balls through and over mid-wicket, just divine, really.
Yes. Shubman Gill, bring it on. If not, Bubba Azam. Those are our predictions for the top guns. And what about with the ball, Dylan? Who have you, using your abacus, who have you sort of kept an eye on, and who have you shaken down as your number one wicket taker prediction?
Well, I've got a short list of 4, and quite amazingly, I've only gone one spinner, and I've gone 4 left armers. My short list, the 3 genius left arm seamers, Mitchell Starc, who took a hat-trick the other day in a warm-up game, Trent Boult, who is just, that in-swinger is just an LBW heat-seeking missile to right-handers early in the innings, and Pakistan's Shaheen Shah Afridi, who I really rate very highly, coming back from injury, so that might be he might sit out some games, so that might mitigate against him. But the guy I went for in the end was a guy who just takes a stack of wickets in those overs 10 to 40, and that's India's Yadav. Kuldeep Yadav, the wrist-spinning lefty, who can go for a few, but tends to pick up wickets as well.
I think I saw a stat which said he had 33 wickets this year, which is more than anyone going into the Cricket World Cup, having had a bit of I think he had a knee injury and kind of falling out of favour. I think they sort of preferred Chahal there for a while. A pretty formidable quartet that he forms alongside Bumrah, Siraj and Shami. I had a look. I struggled with this, to be honest. I actually, my instincts were that it was going to be, absolutely, Yadav was in there. Jasprit Bumrah was another one that I thought, how does he shape up? But it's quite weird. His average in India is 30.3, quite a bit higher than his career average of 24.
And not just at this point in time, not in great form either.
Yeah, and so, I sort of took a bit of a discount on him. The other thing that caught my eye about him is he's never taken a wicket against New Zealand in New Zealand, but that's probably not going to be much use going into this tournament. I had Afridi, Starc, I had Siraj and Shami in the mix. But in the end, I did actually go for Siraj, very simply based just on strike rate. So the highest strike rate of any player in the tournament, second only to Ryan Harris in the history of one-day cricket. Mohammad Siraj, strike rate of 24.6. Other guys that are in and around that strike rate have been mentioned. Shaheen Shah Afridi, he's in the top 10 alongside Mitchell Starc. Harris Ralph is also in there, and one Jofra Archer. And you'd be bold to pick him as your top wicket taker, but I wouldn't be that surprised if he turns up in there and wreaks a bit of havoc during this tournament too.
Yeah, you would. And look, the reason I've gone sensible as well with Yadav is, as you'll work out later on in this little segment, I have a funny feeling India are going to play quite a few matches, maybe 2 more than some other sides.
Fair. It's fair. Certainly they've got a world of expectation on their shoulders on that front. And what about your best World Cup rookie? Now, I wasn't quite sure how sort of rookie we needed to go here.
First World Cup, so I went on the basis of first World Cup. And then for me, it was obvious. You've already got him as your top scorer, Shubman Gill.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I had a couple of questions that I wasn't sure whether Devon Conway would count. So, I reckon Devon Conway. I also think Daryl Mitchell is in for a big tournament. And I think an Englishman's going to get injured, and this guy, Harry Brook, is going to come storming through. Johnny Bairstow, he breaks his leg playing golf. So, there's the chances of Harry Brook getting in there over the next few weeks are high. Yeah. I think he's going to be one to keep an eye on. The other bloke who we haven't seen much of here in Aotearoa is Heinrich Klaasen, the ferociously destructive ginger South African middle order slogger who's averaging sort of 40 at a strike rate of better than 110 and plundered runs against Australia. Will be interesting to see whether he can do it in India, of course, and against really good bowling. But, I think he's going to be one to watch as well. So nice to have a ferocious redhead in the mix too.
Yeah, sure is. And look, I'm not saying redheads are villains, so this is an awkward segue, but your villain of the tournament.
My shortlist was of 2, which was Davy Dum Dum and Ravichandran Ashwin, but I've gone a little bit sort of off script here, and I think it's going to be one of the umpires or match referees. So my nominations are Nitin Menon from India, the Bangladeshi umpire Shafidullah Imne Shahid, and or maybe Andy Pycroft from Zimbabwe. Those are my potential pantomime villains. I'm not sure whether they're going to make them play cricket in the dark. I'm not sure whether they're going to invoke or refuse to invoke technical rules to the detriment of New Zealand, but I'm just got a spidey sense that there's going to be some weird umpire match referee shenanigans like there is so often in Cricket World Cups.
I wonder if Jeff Crowe would have qualified for that award in retrospect for 2003.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, when you see him walking around, he's a match referee in this tournament alongside Javagal Srinath and Richie Richardson. He'll have a little badge, and that just means that he's won this honour in previous years. It'll be one of the little badges on his lapel, I suspect.
Yeah, I had a very short list. I didn't go a little bit off beam like that. I had also Davy Dum Dum as one of my shortlisted pair, but I kind of feel he's actually loved in India by a large section, and I think he plays up to that as well, and it's made him a very rich man. So I'm going to say he keeps his sillier, his dumber antics in check, and I've actually gone for Johnny Bairstow. I have gone for a red-headed villain, and the reason why I've gone for it is because I think he's going to do something early in the tournament that is going to reverse all that sympathy he got for the ethical quagmire that was the Lord's run out, and how he played so hard on that, you know, it's just not in the spirit. I'm outraged, kind of thing. He will do something. Maybe it's claiming a catch that looked like it could have bounced in front of him. And
you think he's out for vengeance?
And the world will turn on him, and it will be brutal.
I like your thinking there. It does. You know, I've seen a few interviews with him, and he does seem like a very tense kind of a guy and takes things very, very seriously. So it does seem like he's just right on the edge, right on the tipping point of doing something a little bit crazy. So okay, good. I think it's a good call, DC. It's a good call. Maybe enabled by an umpire or a match referee, or maybe triggered by one of those officials. And who do you? Well, I can segue to this because my biggest flop, the player that I think is going to be most overrated, and I think Australia's fortunes may rise or fall on the back of his form. I think it's David Warner. I think he's going to absolutely suck in this tournament. That's my prediction. My other players that I thought might were Joe Root, who's on a pretty poor run of form, Steve Smith, and I just wonder if the pressure's going to get to Virat Kohli. So those are my sort of nominees, or highly commended in terms of the biggest flop. But David Warner for me, and maybe that's hope rather than logic.
Yeah, the biggest flop for me, I've actually gone for Harry Brook, who was your smoky for the rookie of the tournament. I noted that he had a poor IPL, bar one innings where he got 100, and I also noted that he didn't really take criticism particularly well. He seemed remarkably thin-skinned in his social media, and so I think there's a bit of baggage coming with him, and if he gets a run, I'm not sure he's going to cover himself in glory. So he was my nominee for biggest flop.
Oh, some intriguing machinations there. Did you have any predictions of who you thought might pull off a mancad during this tournament? Of course, completely legitimate. You know, we've gone around the mulberry bush on that one in previous podcasts, and you know we sit along the same sort of end of the spectrum on this. DC, you're much more sort of in favour of it probably than me, but do you think anyone's going to pull off a mancad during the tournament?
No, I don't, and do you know why I reckon? So obviously your number one is Ashwin for potential mancads, but I think batters are going to be so much more careful now because they know it's a real live thing now. They know they can actually be dismissed for a mancad. They know it's a horrible way to go out. I think they'll be careful. There was also the kind of Bangladesh brought the spirit of cricket back in that series of New Zealand, which got a lot of airplay around India and around the cricketing world. I think there's going to be a couple of threats. I think Ravi Jadeja is going to jokingly stop and pretend to mancad someone, and Shakib Al Hasan is probably going to do the same. And it'll be all japes and jokes, but no one's actually going to go through with it.
I like that. I actually had that. I think that Shakib Al Hasan is definitely on my shortlist, and I put Ish Sodhi down in the exact situation that you talked about. He's going to do one, or at least attempt to do one, but all in jokes, and there will be no damage done. It's a really good call, though, to say that you feel like players have made that adjustment just based on a handful of incidents, and the sympathy seems to have gone out of play. A lot of the sympathy seems to have gone out of those situations for the batters who are kind of encroaching. So Yeah, I guess that's one little, not a rule tweak, but a kind of code tweak that's happened in between World Cups. What about best fielder, or maybe who do you think is going to pull off the most memorable catch?
Yeah, this is interesting. And I had a really long, hard think about this, and I think the guy that's going to be celebrated as this outstanding, stunning fielder of the tournament is going to be our very own Glenn Phillips. But he is going to pull off one of the catches of the tournament, no doubt about it. But he's also going to shell a couple that he probably should have taken, and he probably could have taken if he'd stayed on his feet. So,
you reckon overcomplicating it, perhaps?
Yeah, so I think Glenn Phillips is going to be lauded, but for me, the actual fielder of the tournament is more likely to be a Ravi Jadeja, a Glenn Maxwell, or a Mitchell Marsh, who I think is an incredible fielder, great set of hands, and has just got a cannon for an arm. And actually, I was thinking back to your question as well about the biggest flop / most overrated, and I was tempted to put Cam Green in there because I actually think he could be a spare part here because Mitchell Marsh is in just such great form, and do you need to carry both of them? But that's going a little off topic. We'll get back onto the fielding now and who you think might be the best fielder of the tournament.
It's a good call, actually, and I like that you're provoking the whole of Australia with that as well, which is good for our ratings. Look, I had Jimmy Neesham. What do you have for food? I just think he's got something sensational up his sleeve, up his well-gymmed sleeve. Yeah, Glenn Phillips, I see, talking of gyms, he's certainly been working out and putting a lot of it on Instagram. So, yeah, he was on my shortlist. Jadeja too. And I had two that I really hope that it isn't, and that was Ben Stokes and Steve Smith, both geniuses in their own way. And I think both of them are capable of pulling off a couple of absolute screamers. I just hope that they're not heartbreaking catches for New Zealand.
Yeah, and Stokes has also got that cannon of it, probably more so than Mitchell Marsh, actually. I'd like to see those two have one of those old-fashioned throw-offs. they had that one. I remember as a kid, I went along and watched a game, and it was between South Australia and Central Districts at Pukekura Park. I don't know what summer it was, but I was a kid. But they obviously, South Australia were touring New Zealand. I don't know if it was a reciprocal thing and CD went to Adelaide later, or perhaps Queensland went to Auckland. I cannot remember anything except those were the two teams. And in the halftime, in the break between innings, there was a throw-off, and CD had this guy called Wayne the Arm Martin. He was a football goalkeeper renowned for being able to throw the football over halfway. So he used to throw everything rather than kick it. And so they were certain he was going to win. And he went out and threw it. And it wasn't a bad throw. The South Australian kid with long hair, I couldn't even tell you his name, but he threw it about 20 metres past, and the whole crowd was kind of just shocked into silence that the arm had been defeated. So I would love to see Mitchell Marsh, Ben Stokes. Yeah, I think that would be just tremendous sidebar entertainment.
Well, so just on that, were they sort of in the squad, or were they actually in the playing 11? Those two guys that were involved in the throw-off, were they just part of the wider squad, or were they just completely random guys, sort of from the off the grass terraces at Pukekura Park?
No, they were both in the playing 11, and I don't know how it came apart, but obviously because CD had this guy playing for them who was named the Arm. Maybe someone in South Australia went, oh, okay, we'll put our best guy up against your best guy at the lunch break. Much like the Richardson Lehman.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that.
The runoff, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, just sort of, No lycra involved in Pukekura Park in the 80s, though, Dylan.
No, there wasn't. Very sensible stubby length shorts.
Oh, yeah. So just stupid key pockets rather than lycra. Hey, who do you think is going to finish up bottom of the heap? I mean, obviously we play for this tournament for 7 weeks or whatever it is, and there's going to definitely be a wooden spoon team. Who do you think is going to be taking that one? Yeah, and where are they going to be taking it back to?
I feel really sad about this because in all these topics so far, we haven't really mentioned a minnow at all. Like I didn't even give Rashid Khan a nomination for top wicket taker, and he could well be. He's an exceptional cricketer. But for me, it does come down to a battle between Afghanistan and the Netherlands. And I just think Afghanistan's batting is so bad that the Netherlands...
Cavalier comes to mind.
Cavalier, yeah. Yeah, that is one way of putting it. But, yeah, they really struggle with the bat. I think Netherlands going to tip them over. for me, it's Afghanistan. And I'll be sad about that in part.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a battle, actually, Afghanistan versus the Netherlands. I had the Netherlands, and mainly just conditions-based. I think that the conditions in India are more likely. I haven't actually checked where they're playing, but I think they're more likely to favour Afghanistan over the Netherlands, who I think would probably quite like a bit of a green seamer so that Logan Van Beek can go to work and Baz de Leader can do some things. But yeah, I just think the Netherlands, when you're batting prowess, is basically sits in the names Scott Edwards and Colin Ackerman, and that the team have been on record saying they're heading out to India to have the time of their lives. I sort of combined those things and I thought, God, I hope they pull off some upsets. The battle against Afghanistan will be for the wooden spoon, you would imagine. But look, hopefully I'm wrong and the Netherlands do beat Afghanistan, but I'm not sure that they're going to. But they're going to have a bloody good couple of months, no doubt about it.
Is there any other smoky there that could surprise those two by sneaking in and taking the wooden spoon?
It's just
Sri Lanka. Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Nah, and they've got a couple of key guys out with injury as well.
Yeah.
There are a couple of their main bowlers. I was trying to remember the names. That's really bad of me. Is it Chimera, I think, is out?
Yep.
And Hasaranga, that was the other guy. Yeah, so two of their key guys out. So, yeah, look, they could... Again, I feel like conditions are probably going to favour the Sri Lankans in enough games that they'll squeak past some of those lower teams. And, God, you never kind of know what Bangladesh are going to do.
No, that's true. That's true. And there may be podcasts done elsewhere in the world, maybe the grade cricketer, maybe other ones where New Zealand might be getting a sneaky mention in there. So we shouldn't perhaps be too smug. Sacrilege.
So, yeah, boiling down all the results, doing all of your mathematics and algorithms and so on. DC, who do you see is going to be your top four? Who's going to make the semi-finalists? And just to remind everyone, it's a round-robin format. Everyone plays everyone. There's going to be some rain about. And then it literally goes through that entire round-robin, and then it goes bang semi-final, bang semi-final, bang final. Yep. So who do you think is going to be in that top four?
I've got one definite. India will be in there. Lock them in. And I'm not certain about Australia for some reason. I'm just not. I just don't think they're in great form. I don't think they're brilliantly set up to play well in India. But I think they will make the semi-final. I think New Zealand will. I think New Zealand will continue that brilliant tradition of flying under the radar, winning the games they should win, getting a perfect no result against one of the big teams and beating one of the big teams, sneaking in. And that fourth spot is going to come down to a battle between England and Pakistan. Matthew Motball, again, I think England might get a couple of frights. I think England may win their first game, unfortunately, but I think they will get some frights along the way. But I think they will. I think they'll get there. And it will be a very, I guess, Anglo semi-finals. Australia, New Zealand, England, and India.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the same, but I had India and England as locks for me, and then Pakistan. I think they're due. I think they can get up in India. I mean, they're going to be absolutely. There's going to be some friction in and around that team. Being on tour in India. Sort of maybe not unprecedented, but a very rare set of circumstances to have them over there. And I think New Zealand can sneak through. I do. I'm wary of Australia and I'm wary of South Africa, but I guess we're going to talk about this a little bit more shortly. But I just feel like the experience of the New Zealand team and getting Williamson back in during the tournament, I think that's going to play out super well for New Zealand. From in terms of India, it just feels like they have got supreme set of resources. They are. I don't feel like they're over cocky about things. They're almost definitely not flying under the radar. And I'm sure they're confident, but doesn't feel like they're sort of turning up there expecting to win the tournament, given that they've had results over the past 10 or 12 years in these World Cups, which hasn't been probably up to their standards. England, for me, I just feel like they can chase anything, and that's pretty scary. Pakistan, cliche, but mercurial, and New Zealand just kind of everybody doing their job.
My concern with Australia, England, and Pakistan is quality of the spin attack. I think New Zealand have got Santner, who's sound as a pound, and enough that they can throw at a wall and hope something comes out. But Australia are relying pretty heavily on Zampa, who doesn't look in great form. England have got those funny, like Livingston, who can do a bit of bits and pieces stuff, but they rely a lot on, is it Adil Rashid, who can go for a few as well. So I just think they might be a little vulnerable in that department.
Yeah, no, Australia's interesting. I think there's a lot. I think that Travis Head does a lot of heavy lifting for that Australian batting, and he's obviously out for at least the first few games with a puckaroo hand. So I think they've got some tricky games, sort of those first few games. So hopefully that's where the Australians can get thumped a couple of times. Maxwell, Agar, and then there's also talk of Sean Abbott coming in to shore up the batting, and that could mean that Josh Hazlewood doesn't even make their starting 11. So there's a little bit of what would you call? They seem pretty unsettled, the Australians. Yeah. Of course, we said this about them before they went into the T20 World Cup a year ago, and then suddenly they're singing la 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 la, spraying champagne around, wearing NBA glasses, and got the trophy. So I am sort of I just really don't want to see that again. The other thing about Australia is that Pat Cummins is a pretty inexperienced one-day cricket captain as well. So I wonder whether that's going to be a factor too.
And he hasn't captained very well in India before. Different format entirely, but there might be a few little ghosts rattling around there.
Yeah. And we haven't really talked too much about South Africa apart from my ferocious ginger guy earlier on. And, I know that they do have, who's out? Is it Unrik Nortje's out?
Nortje's out, and that's a huge loss for them, I thought. And in fact, that kind of discounted them from my thoughts as a potential tournament winner, because I think you need that high-paced guy. Like India have got Bumrah, New Zealand have got Ferguson, admittedly an out-of-form Ferguson. England have got high pace. Australia have got Cummins and Stark. Rabada's not quite the same player he was 4 years ago. Yeah,
and then they've got Jansen, who's decent, absolutely, but almost. I think they're saying he's going to be batting up around number 7. So but basically playing as the all-rounder.
I mean, they could surprise me, but for me, there's just too many question marks with South Africa to put them as a genuine tournament-winning chance.
Yeah.
Mind you, they're overdue. My word, they're overdue.
As is Pakistan. Yes. Gosh, it's frightening when you look at their batting lineup. Ralph Hassan Ali, is a man. You've got Emma Hakan, of course, the diamond who we mentioned earlier. They're shaping up pretty well. Anyway, what about who's going to? So semi-finals happen. I want to know two things. Who do you really, really, really not want to go through into the final out of your top 4, and who do you think is going to get through, and who's going to take the biscuits on the day?
I'd really love it to neither Australia or England to make their final. Although I say that with a slightly heavy heart, because the way England play the game is just so dynamic and fun to watch. I think an India-England final would just be incredible, right? There's all that history, there's the subtext, there's the way they play cricket, there's Stokes versus Kohli, two of the bigger personalities that have ever played the game. There's just so many great storylines from an England-India final. But of course, if it is, it means that New Zealand's not there. Then I want an India-New Zealand final, and I'd really like Australia not to make the semi-finals. I really like England not to make the final. I do actually. Ultimately, though, I think India wins it in front of 128,000 people lucky enough to get a ticket for the Ahmedabad final, and to an audience of approaching 1 billion.
Amazing, eh?
It would just be incredible. Sometimes I feel like it's the whole Indian domination of cricket mostly via the IPL and what that's meant to the calendar, is sometimes a negative, but overwhelmingly, India is cricket. You know, in so many ways, it is cricket, and for them to win it at home in front of just a country that treats their cricketers like gods, treats the sport like a religion, it would be just such an incredible moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It fueled the game in so many ways, and I guess my predictions might be to throw some petrol on that fire and have Pakistan come through in the final and beat India. I would be pretty comfortable with that. I really don't want England. I basically thought anyone but England. But, you know, I think India, once those semi-finals come on, pressure goes on, anything can happen.
Oh, it's happened before there, right? I mean, they lost that semi-final to Sri Lanka and the crowd started rioting. I think that might have been at Eden Gardens. And, you know, I still can remember Vinod Kambli walking off the field in tears, you know, as India's dream crumbled. And yeah, you're right, actually. The one final with more storylines than England-India is obviously India-Pakistan. That would be next level security. That brings in a whole different geopolitical element to the tournament that would be absolutely fascinating to watch. And gee, the part of you would love to be over there, but there's also a part of you that would feel a lot safer watching it from here.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Hey, I just wanted to, I thought it'd be good for us just to touch on a couple of things just around the tournament. So one thing that just caught my eye this week, and I made a note of it, and it was from a guy, Nathan Lehman, a stats guy, and he said the lead into this Cricket World Cup is the first time that we've had T20 cricket as the dominant force coming into the tournament. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. And the stats behind that were that coming into this tournament, the teams have, and the players in the World Cup teams have played, their diet of cricket, if you want to put it that way, has been 75% T20 and 25% one-day cricket. Coming into the 2019 World Cup, it was completely reversed. It was the other way around, right? It was 75% one-dayers, 25% of T20 games. Now, a factor that's got in the way of that has been COVID and the fact that T20 tournament shifted and all that sort of thing. But it was just it's a really interesting piece on Crick Info and talks about how cricket has evolved. People play in the World Cup whatever the dominant type of cricket is at that time. So initially those one days, you know, in the old days looked like Test cricket a little bit sped up. Yeah. And then it sort of evolved into one day cricket. And now we're seeing one day cricket evolving it into T20 cricket.
Yeah, it raises some really interesting things. I did a podcast with Jared Kimber recently, and you found yourself checking yourself because you were talking about some really weird concepts for one-day cricket, like bowlers having to get used to bowling longer spells. And, you know, that would have been seen as a farcical thing to say like 5-10 years ago. But it's true. It's incredibly interesting to see the impact that T20 cricket is going to have on this World Cup. And you know, whether batters just go hammer and tongs like England probably will, or whether you'll see them try and pull back and play more patient innings. Yeah, I mean, we probably won't get a real sense of the general trends until a week or two into the tournament. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that impact of T20 cricket on this World Cup.
There's going to be a clash of styles, right? You talk about how England play and how New Zealand play, and different teams will have different approaches. And I guess when you think about that diet of T20 cricket, and if that's become the default, you know, effectively what you're doing there is you are setting scores, effectively chasing 10 runs and over. That is, with 10 wickets, doing that for 20 overs is much, much more realistic and sustainable than doing it with 10 wickets over 50 overs. Yeah. You know, scoring totals of 500 is just, you know, it's inconceivable, I think. I'm not saying it won't ever happen, but it's inconceivable in 2023. So, that's going to be an interesting one. We talked earlier, you know, just about the fact that it is a long tournament. Injuries are going to play a part, and then there's literally no advantage to landing in those semi-finals. Sure, one plays 4 and 2 plays 3, but, you know, effectively it's kind of all comes down to a very, very quick kind of finish. There could be, I've seen a few people say there could be quite a lot of dead rubbers if things kind of get out of whack and a handful of teams get away. That was something that caught my eye. And what about the conditions, Dylan? I think it's a bit of a cliche to say that they're going to be sort of dusty turners.
Yeah, I don't think they will be. No. I mean, what suits, even if the fact that the pitches are overseen by the ICC, like the ground still have their curators, but the ICC come in to make sure there's no skullduggery going on. But let's just say that, worst case scenario, there is pressure brought to bear on these curators to prepare pitches that will suit the home team. What sort of pitch actually suits India at the moment and the way they play one-day cricket? It's not a dusty turner. They've got Mohammad Siraj, they've got Jasprit Bumrah, they've got Shubman Gill and Kohli, who love playing on fast-paced wickets. So I think there will be something in it for. I think getting wickets with a new ball is going to be absolutely critical. That's why I still back New Zealand's chances of doing well at this tournament with Trent Boult, who swings the ball early, and Matt Henry, who hits the seam every single ball. But one thing I'm not quite sure about, and I've tried to work this out, is there a fielder less on the boundary now through those middle overs than there was at the last World Cup? Are you only allowed 4 boundary sweepers now?
Oh, I thought it was 5, but I might be wrong. No, I'm not sure about that. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I had a quick scan before I came in here because I heard the commentators talking in a warm-up. No, it wasn't a warm-up game. It was an ODI between Australia and India, which effectively acted as a warm-up. And commentators were talking about how with the fielding restrictions now, we could see a 500 total at this World Cup. And I was thinking, oh, hang on a minute. And I meant to look it up more carefully before we came on, but I'm sure one of our very smart listeners will be able to send you a message and tell you what the exact conditions are.
Flick us an email to byc@beagebrigade.co.nz with any rule thing and any other mistakes that we've made in the last half an hour. Yeah, so in terms of those rule tweaks, I guess the one that breaks our heart is the fact that we moved to multiple super overs, because if there's one super over and everyone ends up, we don't want to have a boundary count back. Yeah, thanks for changing that rule, the ICC. The concussion substitution rule is in play, which wasn't for the last World Cup, and the overrate rule, which basically means that if you're behind on the run rate in terms of the time to complete your innings, then you'd start to have a fielder that's got to stay inside the circle. I think those are the main tweaks that I'd caught up with. Anything else from your perspective? What's the weather meant to do? I mean, ridiculous to say that, I guess, over 7 weeks, but I'm pretty sure that we start to get into the start of the rainy season towards the end of the tournament, at least. Yeah,
it's not meant to be the rainy season at the moment, but again, listening to commentary, they have said there's far more rain around than normal at this time. And you've got to remember that also that India is a vast land. It's a subcontinent. So you're going to get different conditions in Chennai than you are when you go up north and play in
Dharamshala or whatever.
Yeah, so I think if you go there thinking that you're going to be able to play one mode the whole way through this tournament, unless you're England, you're probably going to get tripped up from time to time.
Yeah, that ability to flex and be adaptive is going to be, and I guess the having different machinations in your squad is going to be super important. Hey, in terms of the New Zealand squad, DC,
yes,
we've had a quick look at how it shapes up against the 2019 edition. I guess at a headline level, do you think it's like what's changed, and do you think we're stronger or weaker?
I think we're slightly weaker. It's really only changed in batting and CDG, Colin de Grandhomme, who's a big loss. Perhaps not as big a loss now in playing in the Subcontinent World Cup as he would have been if we'd lost him just ahead of the England one, where he was fantastic, where his bowling was so valuable. But yeah, if you look at that batting lineup, we went into 2019 with Guptill, Munro, Nichols, Williamson and Taylor. Guptill, he was coming off being the top run scorer in 2015 World Cup. He's just a mighty white ball player. Ross Taylor, most one-day centuries for New Zealand, a mighty one-day player. Colin Munro, kind of that flighty guy who could be a match winner, who I don't think Gary Stead ever really fully trusted, or Kane Williamson ever fully trusted. So he sort of fell out of favour during that World Cup, along with the solidity of Nichols and Williamson. That batting lineup just has a little bit more to it, I think, than Conway, Young, Williamson, Mitchell, Phillips and Chapman. But really, I'm splitting hairs there, and I'm going more on, the fact that Taylor and Guptill had such amazing careers behind them, rather than what they actually did in 2019. Conway's a fine player, but he just hasn't played enough to have stacked up the numbers that Guptill and Taylor had. Same with Mitchell. But you could actually argue that, going to this World Cup, Conway's a better player than Guptill was in 2019. You could argue that Daryl Mitchell's playing better now than Ross Taylor was in 2019. But just on face value, I prefer the 2019 lineup. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, and I guess, and I know this is not the question that was asked, but I think there's something brilliant about having 9 of those guys having gone through that World Cup in 2019. I think that the experience that they've been through, understanding the crowds going mad and the kind of the pressures that are going to be brought to bear, and how it's going to feel to be out there. Yes, it's going to be India. Yes, it's going to feel a bit different. I mean, I saw even them walking into the hotels, and it was like this full festival vibe, and thinking, man, that probably didn't happen in Leeds and Manchester and so on. But I guess that just that understanding of how the World Cup works and the alchemy that they've developed, I think is this. I think that's going to be pretty bloody helpful in 2023. Sorry, that just triggered another thought, and it comes back to that one-day international cricket thing actually, and it's you can see it here. So often during bilateral one-day cricket, over the intervening years between World Cups, there's so much dicking around with squads and so on that very rarely do you have the very best 11 of one country playing the very best 11 of the other.
Yeah.
And I think it's great to see that New Zealand really has put its strongest team out on the park, aside from Kane Williamson for maybe the first game.
Yeah. And Kane Williamson's a massive loss, actually, and it's kind of upsetting in some ways because we saw him play the 2 warm-ups, admittedly not needing to field, but he scored runs in both of them, unbeaten in both of them, and there's a part of you that's just going, oh, come on, guys. How different...
Just put him in it.
Just put him in.
Can't field.
Yeah. How different can it be? Just put him at third man and give him a bike so he can bike between third man, between overs or something. But I think he's a big loss. I think that gives England the edge in that opener. Not a massive edge, but, coming off the back of their 3-1 victory in home conditions as well, I think they'll probably go into that as favourites. But that New Zealand bowling attack, if we can get Ferguson anywhere near 2019 form, Bolt, Henry, Ferguson, Santner, Southee obviously won't play, I don't think, for a couple, but again, I'm not sure he's in that first 11 anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, that is the sort of bowling attack that can have an opposition, even a very good opposition, 4 for 40, 4 for 60. And that's how New Zealand is going to beat good sides at this tournament. Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, the Williamson thing is a big loss. What else did I think? Revenge would be nice. I think that's definitely right. I heard a really snarky comment from an English cricket observer who said, "Oh, we have to be wary of New Zealand. They're very good at World Cup pool games," which I thought was quite a niche dig. Without Williamson there, Conway, of course, looms large. But England are absolutely formidable. I think they've beaten us 8 of the last 10 times we've played them. If I think about, and I guess that top order, Milan, Bairstow, Root, Butler, this added steel of a rejuvenated Ben Stokes, and then the randomness of Liam Livingstone, and I guess you'd assume they're sort of going to bat around Root and bat around Milan. It sort of feels like their approach, and have the strike rate kind of blazing away at the other end. They do have quite a shitty schedule, and they've done lots of traipsing around in advance of this game, but probably doesn't matter too much for game one. And I guess I think they're scared of Daryl Mitchell. I think he's going to love playing them. Well, he has in the past.
Rashid feels absolutely crucial in how New Zealand contend with him, and hopefully Sam Curran gets picked, because he's a tricky bowler, but I think he's really good for 4 overs. I'm not sure about how he's going to go having to bowl 7 or 8. Two last things just to throw at you. One, something to be afraid of. England have roped in the left arm, side arm Wanger thrower, Sorab Ambatkar. He will be travelling around them with the World Cup, so they will be pretty good at facing left arm dog throw bowling.
I thought you were going to say Reece Topley then, the left arm, side arm. Where are you going with this, Paul?
And the last thing I just wanted to point out, and I meant to mention this before, was Ahmedabad, it's only hosted 3 one-dayers. The average score in those 3 games, batting first, 226.
There you go.
So
it's all set up for New Zealand's attack then, isn't it? Come on in, Matt Henry.
Exactly. Yeah. So scary, but 9:30 p.m. tomorrow night, Ahmedabad. It's exciting. Be great to get the World Cup underway. I don't know if people are going to tune in for that opening ceremony, but that's going to be probably an hour before that. And DC, I think you had something to bring us home, maybe something a bit more meta.
Yeah.
On the big picture of cricket.
Yeah, and it actually follows on from your theme you mentioned before about T20 being the dominant thing leading into this game. And it's I just saw a piece from Osman Samiuddin in Crick Info, and I won't read it out. It's quite a long passage, but he did raise the possibility that this is the last 50-over World Cup that will mean a lot. You know, and it's intriguing as to what they do with ODI cricket after this World Cup, because the next one, which will be in 2027, is back to 14 teams. But we'll obviously have a diet of T20 in the meantime there. What will happen to bilateral ODI cricket in that 4 years? Will they basically abandon it to give the calendar some bandwidth so they can fit in all these franchise T20 tournaments? Will they rejuvenate the Super League, which actually gave some meaning to the bilaterals? Or do you not really need to rejuvenate it, because with 14 teams going anyway, what would a Super League achieve? You know, any team that can half play cricket is going to go in 2027. So, including the West Indies, which we haven't mentioned obviously because they're not going to this one, which is very sad considering their incredible history of winning the first 2 and being a beaten finalist in the third one. So yeah, it is interesting, and if it is the last of the ODI World Cups that are the biggest tournament in cricket's calendar, then I hope it's a cracker.
I saw Lee Jamon just before I stepped in here had quoted some statistic about asking the players what was the most important cricket tournament in the world, and 3 years ago, 80% of them had said the 50-over World Cup, and the most recent survey result was 50%. So it's gone down 30% in 4 years. Yeah,
if it keeps going in that direction, it's not healthy.
Exactly. And I guess at the end of the day, the players and the commercial money, and sponsors and support for the game is going to go where the eyeballs are, and that's going to go where that's where the money's going to be spent, right?
Yeah.
Players are going to follow the money, and the money we can see it's going to be going down the T20 lane. So it feels almost like a foregone conclusion, and it would be kind of weird to have a 50-over World Cup when no one had played any 50-over cricket in advance of it. But I guess it depends on how many TV deals have been signed in advance by the ICC that they need to fulfill. But yeah, it does feel like, I guess cricket continues to evolve, and we do pine for what we grew up with. And the fact is, what we grew up watching is not what our dads grew up watching and not what our granddads grew up watching. So the game does continue to evolve and ain't going to stop.
The game does move on. And what ain't going to stop as well is the BYC. And I will be doing a special podcast on Friday. I will do the all-nighter on Thursday to watch the cricket. And, so listen out. It may be me and one other, but if not, it will be just myself waxing lyrical on
soliloquy.
What we hope will be a barnstorming, beige-coloured start to the Cricket World Cup.
How good. If you've got, we mentioned the email address earlier, flick us an email to byc@beigebrigade.co.nz or slide into the DMs of the Alternative Commentary Collective or the Beige Brigade on Facebook or Instagram. And I've got a mea culpa on that. I forgot to renew the Beige Brigade email address. So if you've been emailing us over the last few weeks, blame me. Please resend your email. I suck. And we'll be checking them religiously from now on.
Can I just mention one other thing as well? As of tomorrow morning, when Wickles opens their doors, I will have a book on the shelves called Modern New Zealand Cricket Greats. Listen in on Friday for my BYC special, wrapping up the England-New Zealand game, and I will have a question at the end of that. And if you email the right answer to that email address that Paul just mentioned, which I'll get him to repeat after this, you will be in the draw to win a copy of Modern New Zealand Greats from Stephen Fleming to Kane Williamson by D.N. Cleaver.
Flick us an email to byc@beigebrigade.co.nz and we'll get that book out to one lucky listener. Thanks for tuning in to the BYC. Go get some sleep. DC, you've got a massive 7 weeks ahead of you, and look forward to enjoying this cricket tournament with you over the next couple of months. Come on, the Black Caps!